Welcome to today's episode of the Simply Financial podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Calandra, looking to increase your financial IQ with today's episode, which will be a discussion about podcast shows. I not only am an avid reader, but I consume a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts, whether I'm on a hike, a run, at the gym, long car ride, plane ride. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I asked Lindy Brock, my partner, teammate, and very good friend, to join me because she listens to a lot of podcasts as well. And it's been far too long since she last joined me on the show. So Lindy, thanks for hanging out with me for a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm glad that you invited me to this because like you, I am a podcast geek, which you turned me on to. So I am excited.
Yeah, and I will give a shout out to my very good friend, Chuck Ruiz. I know he listens to this show. Back in I think it was 2015, maybe 2016, he introduced me to podcasts, and it was really a great recommendation. So I want to focus, Lindy. I know we listen to a variety of stuff. I know I do, but focus on shows that provide some business insights, personal development, finance, economics, that kind of thing. And I thought maybe we could just go through some of the top shows we're listening to these days that kind of fall into that category. You want to start, or do you want me to?
Sure, I'll start. I know probably a lot of ours overlap as we share shows back and forth from what we like. And we kind of, we're kind of attracted to the same types of shows. So, but this show, I don't think you listen to as much as I do. And that's the Jordan Harbinger show. And this is in no particular order, mind you. So Jordan Harbinger, he used to do one of those shows that's like a relationship advice, but now he, like a lot of other podcast hosts, just has on a variety of guests, talks about a variety of different things. But he also has this free program that teaches you how to network and build relationships, which is like super valuable for anybody in the business world. And some of his guests do talk about financial stuff. Some of them talk about economic stuff, technology stuff. Just a good all around clean show.
And you're right. I don't listen to his as regularly as you do, but as you were speaking, I just followed the show. It's been a while since I checked it out. But he also, I think, has a tendency to have some offbeat guests too, yes. Right? Didn't he have somebody that was like an art forger and some crazy stuff by the FBI? Okay,
exactly. So very interesting stuff. Like I said, not everything is about personal finance or personal growth, but just the variety of guests he has on makes the show really entertaining. And he's a great host.
Beautiful. And what would be a second show that you would throw out before I share a couple of my ones?
So another one of mine that I don't think that you listen to much is the Jacko podcast. Again, it's kind of an offbeat one, but one that would pertain to a lot of different types of people. He's very big on leadership and discipline, which is actually, very good in the business world. But he has on a lot of guests that were prior military. And obviously, you're a fan of military books, history, and there's a lot of leadership and discipline stories that, service members and the military can teach us just about everyday stuff. There's a lot of overlap.
And just to catch everybody up, this is Jacko. Is it Willick? Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Willink, I think.
And he's a former Navy SEAL,
Correct.
Accomplished military veteran. He's written several popular books. He's been on the circuit of podcasts and talk shows and the like. So you're right. That's one that I've kind of checked in and out of. I think listeners, if you're listening to this, you'll know this probably for yourself. And if you are listening to this and might experiment with podcasts, what will end up happening is you'll probably listen to some shows for a while and then kind of move on. They do get a little stale. You'll need to refresh up usually. I know we talked about this when Chuck had first recommended podcast. I got into the Tim Ferriss show, and I was a Tim Ferriss fanatic. And they are long form shows. They're like 1-2 hours, maybe even 3 hours. And I had such an appetite for all things Tim Ferriss, including his books. We joked internally that I had a man crush on Tim Ferriss, but I haven't listened to one of his episodes for a while. It was a great phase, and I got a lot out of it. I'm still a fan of his, but then I kind of moved on to some other shows, and I don't think that's uncommon. And the first couple of shows that I'll bring up is I listen to the Dave Ramsey show regularly, and I have for the last bunch of years. Dave Ramsey has one of the most popular podcasts out there, enormous following. I would not say that I agree with all of his financial advice, but I do enjoy the show. I find it entertaining. I'll also share with you, Lindy, that I kind of try and emulate a bit Dave Ramsey. I like his communication style as a host, and I think I use some of what I learned from him as a podcast host, also when I am a guest on other shows, because I do some media, and also when I'm meeting with clients and prospects. It helps me with that also. I've listened to the show so much, though, over the years. I listen to it a little less than I used to, that I think actually I could stand in as a Dave Ramsey host and do a hell of a Dave Ramsey impersonation. But I actually will listen to it a lot when I want to think through a problem and creative, and I don't necessarily want quiet. I don't necessarily want music, because it's almost like background, and I kind of don't need to listen too intensely, but it helps get my creative juices flowing. So it has a particular special use in my lineup that I'll go to for entertainment and for creative kind of thinking, and not necessarily listening to every word like I might with other shows. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I agree. And I think probably the reason why is because he has live people on, and he is like actively problem solving while he's doing the podcast. So, having like live guests in real life situations probably helps. And I think when you look at other podcasts too, you don't get a lot of that. You don't get a lot of like live everyday people that are on the show and getting live advice. So I do like that about that podcast.
Yeah, well said. Two others that I'll throw out initially is the All In podcast, which I've only been listening to for maybe 2 months, 3 months now. This is really good. It's long form. Usually the episodes are an hour or longer, and typically has the 4 hosts on: Dave Friedberg, Dave Sachs, Shamath Pepatia, I think that's how you pronounce it. But they're basically venture capitalist technologists. And it is a sort of magazine format. They talk a lot about the technology sector, venture capital, private equity, but they will also touch on macroeconomics, politics, news of the day, including recently some of the bank failures. So they do a really nice job. It's entertaining, and I really find that I'm learning a lot listening to them. So that's been really valuable. And the other show I'll throw out is the Prof G podcast, and you're probably chuckling. Because if I had a man crush on Tim Ferriss originally, he's been surpassed by Scott Galloway, the host of Prof G. His show, the target market for his show is a little bit younger than me. I think his target market is probably, the 30, 35 and under young professional. But he is a NYU professor. His specialty is branding and marketing. And he has a couple of formats in the Prof G. One is office hours, where people call in and ask him questions. It's not live like the Dave Ramsey show, but he'll answer. Then there's one about markets, which is a little news of the day, what's happening in the markets and the economy. He'll have guests, and they're usually academics, but it's another show that I find very entertaining and I find I love a lot. And I get to hear my friend, Scott Galloway, even though he doesn't know I exist.
Yeah, I've listened to him too. I listen to him less now than I had in the past. Just different communication styles, I guess. It's just, he's not really my thing anymore, but he does have some good economic insights, which I did value.
Yeah, I think his listener base skews male, right? I mean,
I would say so. Male, college age.
Yes.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
demographic. Yeah.
Yes, I'm probably a little old to be listening to Scott. I'll continue to listen nonetheless. And then a couple of others that I listen to, news-wise, I listen to the Bill O'Reilly podcast. He was the very popular Fox News host for a number of years. He left Fox News. I think there was a little bit of scandal behind that, but he has a news program, and I do like listening to that. He has like a 3-minute episode every day, a 15-minute one, and then he often has one that's a little longer, about 45 minutes. And I like to listen to that. Like anyone, I don't agree with everything he says, but I do like his communication style. I do like a lot of what he says, and I find that it's more interesting than listening to the news or watching the news, I should say, because I don't watch any news programs, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, Fox. I don't watch any of those news programs. So I find his to be pretty good. So I'll listen to that regularly during the day. Have you checked that out at all?
No, I've not.
So what other shows do you want to throw out there for me and everyone listening?
So this one is on the newer end, but it's called I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. And he actually I don't know what came first, but he now has a show on Netflix too. So
yeah, which is going to make him way more famous than he was.
Absolutely. But I love him. Again, it's one of those real life problem solving, working with real people. He goes into their financial life and kinds of digs deep into, because I know this is way more than we're even talking about, but a lot of stuff is psychological when it comes to money. And he kind of gets down to the bottom of everything and figures out what their issues are, helps these people, a lot of times it's couples, work together to work out their financial problems. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I did watch the series on Netflix, and I thought that was cool too. Like the Dave Ramsey, it kind of helps me with my creative juices, coming up with solutions for clients and stuff. So I don't know, I like it.
Do you find that because we give advice, I mean, we're financial planners, financial advisors, we're routinely helping educate clients, helping them make good decisions, giving them advice. How often do you find yourself disagreeing with his prescriptions on the show?
That's a good question. So when it comes to personal philosophy, it's probably, maybe 30% of the time that I disagree, but I definitely see where he's coming from. Right. And can see where it would help some people. So, I'm a pretty open person anyway, so I'm open to others' views, and you can never have the exact same prescription for two different people. So I do see definitely where he's coming from, but obviously with anybody, you're not going to agree 100% of the time.
So you find it entertaining? Is that fair?
I do, yeah.
And it helps get your creative juices and helps you with your craft of working within the Elliott Wealth Management practice, working with clients. So that's good. Do you still listen to, you'll have to work with me because I didn't prep this. This is just, this is on the fly. There was one that was My CFO, and The guy was very rough. I mean,
Yes.
every other word was an F-bomb,
Yes.
strong.
Okay. So he doesn't have that show anymore. It's now called Real AF with Andy Frisella. And I did kind of prep for this, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to put it out there because it is, number one, it is very rough language wise. Number two, it has become very political.
Yes.
So I didn't want to necessarily put that out there.
I understand.
Some people may not agree. So
yeah, I get that. His original show I thought was good. However, I believe it was one of those shows. This is Andy Frisella we're talking about. You couldn't listen to that like every day. Like the Dave Ramsey show, you could kind of listen to every day. I think some of these others you could listen to. I think he was better in small doses as a change of pace. At least that was my opinion. It sounds like,
you know, he's a great business owner and he has great things to say about and advice on how to run a business, how you should be an effective employee, taking responsibility for what you do, being your own best person. So I do really value that. And it is good to hear sometimes is motivation, but with his, like I said, political as he's gotten, it does get too much at sometimes.
yeah. So, my favorite podcast, and it's been the case for the last couple of years, I would say this is more of a personal development kind of thing, but Malcolm Gladwell, one of my absolute favorite authors, he wrote such bestsellers as Outliers, Blink, David and Goliath, and others. But he has a show, Revisionist History. You mentioned earlier that I'm a big history geek. I mean, let's be honest, I'm a geek on lots of different stuff, but Revisionist History. And what's different about this one, Lindy, is that it's more like a TV series. There's only maybe 8 or 10 episodes a year. They usually come out in the June, July period, which coincides with being outside more. And I really look forward to the release of the new season. All of the other shows we've talked about, you know, have episodes, you know, every week throughout the year, and they're not really a series like a television series might be. So I really enjoy it. And he'll do, which is the same as in his books, he'll do some stuff that's offbeat, but it really gets you thinking. He's a deep thinker. They're creative stories, very thought-provoking, and I really relish when those episodes come out. And that series, my favorite, and some of those episodes are some of the best episodes I've ever listened to. What else do you have on your list that you wanted to share with me?
I mean, this is kind of a given for pretty much anybody who likes podcasts, but I really enjoy Joe Rogan. I mean, everybody he's so inquisitive and looks at things from all different points of view. And kind of like Jordan Harbinger, he has like so many people on from so many different things. So, I mean, he talks about anywhere from, you know, fighting and his MMA stuff to comedy and living in the Austin area, and which I've heard is fabulous, by the way. But just the range of his guests. He has on, you know, scientists and doctors, and I mean, UFO experts. Anything that you could think of, he has on the show. He's amazing.
The range that he has is unbelievably impressive.
Yes.
And I'm not a regular listener of his show, and I've never been. Now he's behind a paywall now, right?
Yeah. So you can only get to him through Spotify. So I have to go leave my Apple podcast and go to Spotify just to hear him. But I don't know. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I should consider that, because I like that rotation where he does a variety of things. Like you said, he's had politicians on, he has comedians on, he comes from the MMA world, he's still an announcer for the UFC. He'll have people associated with that business on, and then, like you said, finance, scientists, conspiracy theorists, political thinkers, anthropologists, social engineers. He really is wide ranging.
And he's an avid hunter. So, I mean, I really enjoy that too. He talks about like bow hunting and different tips and tricks for that type of stuff, and has on his hunting friends, which we really enjoy too. So I don't know. And just his personality, he's such a cool, laid back, peaceful, like doesn't want to fight anybody, even though he's a fighter. He doesn't want to fight anybody. He wants to get along with everybody and just see all sides of what people are saying. So I do really enjoy him.
Yes, and honorable mention, some of the other shows that I'll rotate in and out of would be the Tim Ferriss show we already mentioned, the James Altucher show, which I actually recently went back to. I was on a binge with him a few years ago, then moved on, but I've gone back to him more recently. Freakonomics is another one, and that one is great because the episodes tend to be timeless, so you could go back and listen to older episodes. They're not very time sensitive or current events oriented. And Freakonomics, there's a whole bunch of books on the subject, but it looks at economics from sort of a unique perspective, everyday usage of Freakonomics. That's also entertaining. I've read most of the Freakonomics books, so that's just an extension of that franchise. So that kind of covers the ones that I wanted to reference. Anything else, Lindy, before we wrap up?
Just a couple other ones that I do. One is Something You Should Know. They're very short podcasts, and again, it's just little tidbits of information that you have absolutely no idea about, like the origination of pizza, or what keeps you up at night, or why you dream, like just little tidbits like that. I think it's cool. And then
that's something
that I don't, I'm sorry.
That's Something You Should Know. That's the show.
Something You Should Know. Yeah. And then the other one that I used to listen to quite a bit was Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. He's big in psychology and talking with people about just different psychological things that have happened to them. I'm big into psychology. I'm a nerd like that. So that was very interesting to me. But I believe he left the Apple platform and went to Spotify also.
Dax Shepard, he's a news media guy, right? Oh, he's an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he's married to Kristen Bell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're a great couple.
Very good. So listeners, one of the things that we talk about when we are working with clients is about lifelong learning in terms of personal finance, that you need to invest some time, have some purposefulness so that you could make smart decisions and build wealth. And what Lindy and I have found in our own personal growth, in our own households, our communication styles, understanding the world, being a good citizen, honing our craft as financial professionals, we found that listening to podcasts gives us a lot of bang for the buck. We learn a lot. It's entertaining, allows us to relate to people. There's just so many benefits. So if you haven't checked it out, not that I am an ambassador for the podcast industry, but I would check them out. There's all different types: short, long, series, male, female, multiple hosts, single host. But if you haven't participated, check it out and maybe use some of the ones that we threw out as a place to start. Or if you've been listening to podcasts, maybe you could check out some of our shows, keeping in mind we don't get a nickel for any of this. We're just sharing some of our thoughts. On a serious note, please check out our website, the Elliott Wealth site, which is elliottwealth.com. Find out more of the work that Lindy and I do to help our clients win with money. And you could sign up for a complimentary consultation on the site if you want to talk to us. And of course, like all podcast hosts, we would appreciate it if you subscribe to the show. So thanks for listening today. I'll be back with you on the next episode of the Simply Financial podcast very soon.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of SagePoint Financial Incorporated and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of the information provided at these websites, nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management, LLC, not affiliated with SagePoint Financial.